Hello everyone, I am the Basement Dweeb, you can call me Nova, and today we will be talking about Fruits Basket, the final episode 7. That's right, it's empty. Real quick reminder, if you haven't done so already, to hit the subscribe button, like the video, leave a comment down below, and without further ado, let's get right into it. Now I'm just going to get this right off the back. In case you can't tell, I'm sick right now. I don't have the disease which shall not be named. Thankfully, I just have a cold. But I am prone to coughing right now. So if there's random cuts that are kind of weird just in the middle of a segment out of nowhere, it's because I started coughing and I didn't want to, have the bout on camera. So with that out of the way, we're just going to get right into the video proper. Now, the first thing, we're not really going to go scene by scene with this episode because this episode was more about character arcs. In a sense, there wasn't a lot of scene by scene play, so I'm just going to kind of talk about individual characters as they come. And the first one we're going to talk about, I'm saving, for those of you who have seen the episode and know what this video is about, I'm saving Akito for last. So we're going to talk about Kyo first. Now, the episode does start with Kyo. We don't really see a lot of him this episode. We see him at the beginning and at the end. Like, the first 3 minutes of the beginning of the first, 3-ish minutes of the episode, and, the last maybe 30 seconds at the end of the episode. Now, it starts with Kyo, it shows a memory flashback type thing, where Kyo is talking, very young Kyo, like 6 or 7, is talking to Kyoko when he was young. And then it kind of flashes into I want to say a fever dream, because it is raining while he's sleeping, so that's probably why. But he's just having a very bad nightmare, and involves he's basically being haunted by the spirits of Kyoko and his mother. It's very unsettling and very creepy. But the dream sequence just kind of goes for a little while, and he's just very obviously uncomfortable and unsettled and doesn't want to be there. And then at the end of the sequence, his mom says, hey, you better, hurry up and come inside with me or something terrible might happen. And then he looks down and his hands are covered in blood. And then he kind of goes, ugh. And then it pans down, or pans up a little bit. And it shows Toru's dead body lying on the ground. And I was like, okay, this boy does not need that. He does not need the image of the girl he loves dead at his feet while her blood is on his hands. He does not need that seared into his brain. I don't either. No one needs that. The precious bean, we don't need that image in our heads. And I'm just like, why would you hurt me this way? Just, why? Fruits Basket, why do you hurt me so? And why do I keep coming back for more? I don't understand. Anyway, so that's pretty much all I have to say. Oh, something else that I forgot, because I have a little bit more to say about what happened at the end of the episode, but I forgot about this bit that happens immediately after he wakes up. So immediately after he wakes up, he's like, oh, both of them in the same dream. That's interesting. I wonder if they're trying to help me, they're trying to remind me to know my place, I wonder if they knew what I was thinking, that maybe, just maybe, Toru loved me back. I'm like, dude, she does love you back. We've been telling you this for, a season and a half. She just realized it recently. She's been in love with you for a while, though, based on her actions and the way she was kind of acting around you. We all kind of knew she was in love with you for a while. But, dude, she loves you back. Duh. What is it gonna take to get that through your thick skull? She loves you back. Anyway, that's all that really happens at the beginning of the video. Again, we don't really see Kyo at all the entire episode until about 30 seconds near the end, when he kind of says, oh, I'm going out. And I think he and Toru are the only ones left in the house at that point, because earlier in the episode, because we don't see Toru or anyone in kind of Shigure's house, Shigure, basically the entire episode. And we see Yuki and Momiji and Toru are kind of making hamburgers in the kitchen. And then they kind of try to call Kyo, but it's like, oh, he fell asleep. And it's like, no, he's just waking up from a nightmare. He doesn't want to talk to anybody. But at the end of the episode, it shows him kind of leaving, and Momiji and Yuki are nowhere to be seen. So I can only assume that they probably either left or gone into a different room, and so they're just not around. But so Kyo is saying, hey, I'm gonna go out. And then Toru's like, hey, wait, I have something to tell you. And then he kind of dramatically turns to face the camera. And then the ending plays. And I'm just like, oh, next week. What is going to happen next week? Is there going to be a confession? Is it going to go well? Because the end card is, I'm disappointed in you, in Kyo's voice. And I'm just like, oh no, I do not want this to end poorly, but I feel like it will. I feel like hearts are going to be broken before this is over. Well, more so than they've already been. I feel like Toru's heart is going to get broken more before this is over, and I don't like that idea. Anyway, that's pretty much all I have to say on the Kyo kind of character arc. A lot of for the little bit that we get, it is interesting to watch. So yeah. Anyway, we're moving on to now. I think we're gonna talk about probably Ren and Shigure. Mostly Ren, but a little bit of Shigure thrown in there. So the next character we're going to talk about, this one's mostly going to be Ren and Akira. And we're going to mention, Shigure in passing, probably at the end. So first thing, Ren and Akira's past is revealed in this, and we don't really see much of Akira. We honestly don't see much of Ren either. We see more Ren in this season than anywhere else, but we haven't really seen anything of Akira beyond, flashbacks where he's saying, "You were a child born to be loved" to Akito. But, that's basically it. But in this episode, we get some flashbacks of how Akira and Ren met, and kind of Akira's relationship with Akito. And we're gonna go more into Akira's relationship with Akito and all that at when we talk about Akito. But basically, I do think, and this is kind of a wild thing that I never thought would be possible, I do think Ren did genuinely love Akira in some weird way. It's weird. Like when I first saw her, when I first saw her talking to him, I'm just like, is she manipulating him or does she actually love him? It was very confusing. I was just like, I don't know how she feels, but she seemed really happy, when it was just the two of them, she's like, he was the center of my world and I was the center of his. And it's just like, so she's kind of a horrible person, but I guess she did genuinely love him. Like, there's nothing in her, what she said about their relationship leads me to believe otherwise. So, terrible person. So, the only thing I can say is that, she was like, my only thing that I can think of is that she must have, she was a servant, so the only thing, sorry, I'm still sick, and it's 1:30, so I do apologize if I'm kind of all over the place. Because this is the next day. I recorded the first segment for this yesterday, but then I was just too tired to keep recording. So this is, day after. Anyway, the only thing I can think of that could have happened with Ren, the reason she is the way she is with Akira, is she might have been just kind of obsessing about him, kind of like a yandere, but not as bad. Well, little bit. Sorry. Now that I think about it, I think she's a yandere. I think she's a yandere who's just not quite as crazy. Although she kind of hits that later in the episode. We're going to talk about that. But the only thing I can think of is that she was kind of obsessing over Akira, and she just kind of has this insane obsessive love for him. That's the only thing I can think of would be that her feelings for Akira. And I do think she did, Akira, first of all, let's get this out of the way. Akira deserved better. This man is a good man who deserved better than fucking Ren. Like Akito, he loved Akito, and I do think Akito did love him, obviously. He is her father. I do think she did genuinely love him, and I think the reason she turned out the way she did, and we're gonna talk more about that, is because she was very attached to him. Anyway, Akira, TLDR, Akira deserved better. I do think Ren did genuinely love him, as impossible as that may seem, because of how terrible of a human being she is. I do think, and I mean, the last words he said were her. He was like, "I'm sorry that you, I wanted to have a child to make you happy, and I'm sorry that didn't work out, and she wasn't there when he died, and we're gonna, again, go more into detail with that a bit later. But, she wasn't there when he died. His last words were like, "I'm sorry that, you couldn't be happy, Ren," and then he died, and I'm just like, Ren, this dude loved you, and you did not deserve him. Okay? Anyway. So, that's pretty much all I have to say on Akira and Ren. He loved her, she loved him, she was super jealous of Akito, because Akito was Akira's favorite, because Akito was a very special child. So, not a fan of Ren. Still, Ren is garbage. Ren is living human garbage incarnate. Yeah, haha. But Shigure. So we're gonna talk a little bit about Shigure. Not super present in this episode. He kind of mostly, his whole thing is having a conversation with Ren, and then he does have some good clapback at the end of that conversation. They're kind of just talking about stuff, and then Ren kind of comes on to him, like she do. And he said, and she's like, you want me now like you did then. And he's like, looking at your face, I do feel a rush of affection. I wonder if she would have resembled you if she'd been able to live her life as a girl. And then he's like, and she found out, I didn't even mention the box yet, did I? So there's a box, and it comes into play more a bit later. But, so there's a box that's connected to Akira somehow. And, Akito has it, and and Shigure told Ren about it, and Ren wants it. And Ren's like, why would you just get it for me? And then after he says, I wonder if she would have resembled you if she'd been able to live her life as a girl. I did want you to take the I did want you to take the box. Because if anyone should be haunted by Akito's soul, it should be you and you alone. Like, Akito doesn't need that box. And I'm just like, okay. I still think you're kind of garbage, but you get a pass today, Shigure. You didn't suck. Also, in this scene, we see the squad in Kurono when they're little boys. And I love it, because they're adorable. And Aya had the sass and the class, even when he was a tiny boy. And I just love them. They're precious. And that is about the only wholesome bit we get in the entire. Oh yeah, this entire episode is a pain except for like the 2 minutes that we get to see them as little children. Because Aya made the entire Aya's the only reason, to be completely honest. The bit where Aya, the 3 lines that Aya said are the only reason I didn't break down and cry during this episode, because Aya gave me a little bit of hope. But yeah, next we're going to be talking about Hiro, and then we're going to move into Akito. So now we're going to talk about Hiro and kind of what happened with that. So again, we're not going to get into a ton of kind of what happened leading up to this. We're going to go into that more when that happens. But basically, so Hiro's curse is broken, and I'm just like, hell yeah, my boy is free. And when it happens, he's kind of watching over Hinata, his baby sister, because he's like, oh, because he can't pick her up. And then something's going on, and the curse breaks, and I'm going to go into what's going on in a bit, because it has to do with Akito. But he's just kind of sitting there, starts looking at his hands, and he looks at Hinata, and then his mother comes in, and he's holding Hinata, and she's like, and then he's like, I'm sorry, I should be happy, but I don't know how I'm feeling, lots of remorse, regret, a lingering sense of connection. And his mom's like, hugs him, and she's like, it's okay, you've had those bonds all your life. It's really hard to say goodbye and stuff. And I'm just like, yes, you're right. I think her name's Satsuki. You're right, Satsuki. But yes, my boy is free, and I'm very happy about it. He deserves only good things. I hated Hiro in the beginning. He is a good man now, good big brother, good to Kisa, just all around a good lad, and I'm very happy that he is now free. And now we get into the moment you've all been waiting for. Akito. So the scene, the bit with Akito kind of begins in a room. It's very dark. I think it's evening at this point. Akito is sitting in a window frame, holding the box in question, and looking out over the rain, contemplating, I guess. Kurono walks in and says, hey, I need to talk to you. And she kind of just starts talking about, she says, hey, do you remember when Yuki first arrived? And just kind of starts talking about how she used to show off in front of Ren, show off the Zodiac bonds in front of Ren, being very confident that the Zodiacs would come back to her even if she let them leave, that they would choose to come back to her. Because Ren, after Akira died, Ren said, you're not special, you were nothing but a toy for Akira, now that he's gone, you're useless. And she would, flaunt the Zodiac bonds in front of Ren to prove Ren wrong, to prove to Ren that she was special, because she was like, yeah, no, I don't want to lose to Ren because Ren's horrible. And I'm like, you're kind of horrible too. But anyway, so she's sitting there, and as we see some scenes from the past kind of show, it shows an old confrontation with Akito and Ren, where Ren's like, hey, if you can prove that these bonds can be broken, I'll limit defeat, and if you lose, grovel before me and leave the family. And Akito's like, I believed in the bonds, I believed that they couldn't be broken. No, I wished, repeating the same line over and over, like I would die if I didn't say it, like some kind of twisted prayer. And I'm just like, yeah, like, as much as I hate Akito, well, hate is a very strong word. I used to hate Akito. Now I'm just like, I pity her, like, I don't like her at all, but I'm like, I just feel sorry for her, you know, in the way that, like, if you see someone whose life is horrible and they've done pretty horrible things, but they're not, like, completely beyond redemption, you're like, I just pity them, you know, like, that's just how it is with me as far as Akito goes. I don't know, that's just how I feel. I know a lot of people don't agree with me. I know a lot of people think Akito is just the worst, and I'm like, you know what? I kind of agree with you, but honestly, if I was able to forgive a character, I would forgive her for her crimes, and I wouldn't forget them, obviously. If I was in the Soma shoes, I would not forget, you know, be like, hey, yeah, you gotta work to earn back my respect and all of that, but I would still forgive her. But that's just probably part of my upbringing. I was taught to forgive, so, you know, it be that way. But anyway, but I really liked that bit. You know, Akito's just like, I believe, you know, I wished over and over, but like deep down I always knew, you know, especially after the whole thing with Kurano. Like, the Kurano thing probably was just like, yeah, no, that kind of threw a wrench in your entire plan there. But yeah, she's just been struggling, and you know, when her father died, he was like, you know, I was hoping that your birth would bring comfort to Ren, because we all knew that I would die when I was young. And it's just like, yeah, that didn't work out so well. Not even a little bit. But, so yeah, at this point, Akito is in despair, because, she knows that the bonds are breaking. She knows that they're breaking, and there's nothing she can do to stop it. All she can do is wait for the inevitable and wait for everyone to leave her. And that terrifies her. Because the bonds are all she knows. This life is all that she knows. And when the bonds are gone, and they will inevitably be gone, probably sooner than she thinks, she will have nothing left. Nothing. And she is terrified, because she doesn't want to be alone. She's like, I don't want to be alone. I don't want that. And I'm like, I mean, again, I get it, you know? Like, Akito, as much as I dislike her a lot, she's fascinating, and I love that facet. And next I'm gonna sorry I'm kind of all over the place. So after that bit, Ren shows up with a knife, having gone full yandere, and is like, hey, give me the box, you know, I want it, you know, it's Akira, so it's mine. And she's like, you know what? Akito's like, you know what? You want the stupid thing? You can fucking have it, and chucks it across the room. And I'm just like, okay, you know, you know, she's like, you know, deep down, like, we hear Akito saying, deep down, I always knew. And later we find out that the servants gave her the box and said, and then Akito was like, what's inside? And they're like, it's Akira's soul, but the box is empty. And then Ren's like, what? And then Akito's like, that's right, it's empty. And then she kind of grabs, and then they kind of stayed around for a bit, and they're like, what the fuck is going on? And then Akito grabs the knife and is mid-stab when Hiro's curse breaks, and she just kind of, you know, stops, full stop, and she's like, you know, like, kind of how she was when Momiji's curse broke, and, you know, all the stuff with Hiro that I mentioned earlier. And then she's like, no, not another one, you know, and she just kind of runs out of the room, still holding the knife, which, you know, comes into play a bit later. If you've seen the episode, you know what's coming. And, you know, she kind of runs outside. Kurano runs after her, and I'm like, why did you do that? And, he's like, you know, hey, you know, we gotta figure stuff out. And she's like, why did, you know, like, this is, like, I believed in it, and I didn't, you know, like, part of me believed and part of me didn't, you know, like, what was I supposed to do? What do I even ask when I don't even know what to ask, you know? You know, this life is the only one I knew. They never gave me another one. You know, what am I supposed to do? And Kurano kind of comes up and hugs her, and he's like, then change, you know, learn what you gotta learn, and I can help you, you know, change, you know, grow and change with me. And Akito's like, it's too late. You're not allowed to say that anymore. He's like, it's like, why didn't you abandon me back then? And he's like, I know. And she's like, why did you only half save me, you know? it's too late for your lecture. And then she fucking stabs him, and I'm just like, no, my boy Kurano, why? And it's one of those things where it's like, I've read the manga, so I knew this was coming, and I saw the preview images, and I was just like, oh, this is the bit where he gets stabbed, isn't it? No! I was so upset. I was just like, no. And then she got stabbed, and I'm like, oh, that's a jagged stab. And, she kind of runs off. She's like, pay for your incompetence or whatever with your life, and runs. And then Kurano's just like, right after her, and the servant's like, oh my gosh, someone get help. And he's like, don't worry about me. And I'm like, dude, you're bleeding everywhere. You need to live for Uotani. So yeah, we're kind of worried. And then, he kind of just collapses. And then we see Uotani kind of talking about they found a dead sparrow, and I'm just like, oh, that's depressing. But, yeah, I think that wraps it up. That's a very depressing note to end on, but I think that's going to wrap up today's video. Like, comment, and subscribe for more pain, because next week's episode, I think, is going to be kind of a doozy. And, I'm going to be linking my Patreon and Twitter down below. I still don't have a proper outro. See you in the next one. Bye. Really quick before I forget, fun fact, this is something I found out from a comment section, actually. The English voice actor for Akira in the 2000 in this remake is the same guy who voiced Akito in the 2001 English dub. And I'm just like, I just thought that was really interesting. I know the lighting for this is terrible, but yeah, I just thought that was really really interesting. It's like he's come full circle almost. Anyway, I just wanted to add that. I was gonna mention, and I completely spaced. That's all. Bye.